This is my interview with Aaron Smith, and he is a fantastic painter. Does painting satisfy you or does it frustrate you?
Probably both. Finally it probably satisfies me more often than it disappoints or frustrates me. But I'm not really one to feel like I want to master anything. I think that's a fallacy. I think actually a lot of my students think they're going to come to art school and they're going to master a technique and then they're just good to go. That's not the way it goes. I'm learning every day in the studio, but I think I've learned to have a sense of grace about it after a while, that I'm going to have good days, I'm going to have bad days, and I'm more involved in the process than I used to be. So I think I don't beat myself up for having a bad painting day. Painting's hard. It's really hard.
How do you know when one of your paintings is done?
It doesn't need me anymore, I think. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's almost as if, I think artists, we always talk about sort of getting out of your own way and allowing the process to do its, go its course.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's just a little voice inside that says, time to let this one go. And yeah, I think maybe I can count on that a little bit more than I used to. That's maybe why painting's a little bit more enjoyable than it used to be.
And don't you find sometimes when you leave a piece of work and you come back the next day, it looks different?
Sometimes it looks better, sometimes it looks worse.
Uh-huh.
But usually there's maybe an insight about what to do next that a little time away can give you. I think it makes it easier.
I think so too. Are you attracted to specific colors, and which colors do you dislike?
I don't think I dislike any color. I mean, my color sense has evolved a lot. It used to be much more traditional, much darker.
I know you have a wild color sense.
Yeah, it's a little bit wild at this point. I don't think I like any one color more than the other. I think I really like certain combinations of colors. Or maybe I like discovering them.
Mm-hmm.
There's certain eras in painting that I'm really into right now. The Fauves, of course, and the Post-Impressionists. I really love Swiss modernism. Ferdinand Hodler and Amiet, who was his protege, had really brilliant color, really clear, kind of very decisive color that was kind of really fresh, I guess.
So do you plan out a painting? Do you draw it out on the canvas before you start? Do you think about it a while, or do you just go?
I kind of just go at this point. I mean, the last body of work for the past few years has been inspired by Victorian and Edwardian photography. So I have a source material, but I just establish the scale of it, and then I draw with the brush, and I lay out a full palette, and I just sort of go.
And do you use a palette knife a lot?
Not a lot. I think a lot of people think I do because it's really thick. Mm-hmm. But occasionally, but there's more brush, I think, than palette knife.
Because I was gonna say about your work, the way you paint is like a dance on canvas. It's got a musical quality. And I just wondered if you always applied paint in this way, or is this an evolution of work?
Yeah, it's definitely an evolution. I used to build up my surfaces with glazes, really painstakingly, and I knew when it was done, when it looked really realistic. And then there was a moment where I kind of had a crisis over it because I was really looking at different kinds of work than I was painting. I thought, well, what's that about? And I basically told my gallery here in LA that I needed some time in the studio. And I took 3 years and just painted, which is a little scary when you're represented. Galleries don't like that so much, but they were great, they were patient. But, and I just painted, and I didn't know how long it would take for me to kind of get to a place where I wanted to sort of re-emerge a little bit. And I came to it after about 3 years, and luckily people have responded.
So what attracts you in particular to a subject?
Well, I mean, the new work is real kind of about masculinity and about kind of the armor of that, the kind of how much, I think I want to just deconstruct or unpack this idea of what it is to be, first of all, what it is to be human. I guess if you're a figurative painter, that's kind of your primary concern. And then in the last work, I've been thinking about sort of masculinity and its kind of construction, and how much of it, how much of a man's identity is inherited. Do you know what I mean? Like from the greater culture, how much of it is innate, and how much of it is just kind of self-directed, manufactured. I've always loved the 19th century. Because I think I love, everything starts with art history for me. So I love the painting of that moment of the end of the 19th century and the beginning of the 20th. And I think there's the mystique of the artists of that time. So Vuillard and Bonnard and Van Gogh, and I think and they had a certain look. So I think I sort of have a fixation on that.
So how many hours a day do you work on a painting?
It depends.
And they're oil?
They're oil and panel. So I'll work from 3 hours to 13 hours, it depends. I mean, there are times when I'm really pushing for a show. Usually it's a deadline that'll make me work that long, but I try to be in the studio hopefully 5 days a week, from 3 to 8 hours.
So now I want to talk about food a little bit. Tell me what your favorite kind of food is.
Oh, this is bad because you hit a certain age and there's certain foods that are less, because I used to love like pasta and pizza would be my favorite.
The heavy duty.
Yeah, but then there's a moment where you can't do that. So now I'm sort of opting for kind of, I'm enjoying healthier eating now. So a little bit, maybe Mediterranean. Like there's some Indian food I like, but that's probably the one that I sort of beg off of mostly, because I think it's a little bit heavier. Although I am a cake fan, so I save my heaviness.
And what flavor
of cake?
Uh-huh.
I don't anything. I like the chocolate cake is probably.
Well, today we'll have a little dessert.
There we go. We'll do that.
We'll just split one.
Yeah, exactly.
What's upcoming with your work?
Well, my work, I've been painting dead people for a while. I'm going to still, I think male figures are going to still be my thing. Tribalism has been a kind of a background concern in my work. I think some people see Gauguin's color in my work, and I think he's in the back of my head. I'm sort of obsessed right now with collecting artifacts from Papua New Guinea, and so I've been studying a lot of tribal culture, and I have tribal tattoos, so it's in the air. So I think I'm going to start combining sort of the Victorian, Edwardian dandy with kind of pushing a hybrid with sort of a tribal sensibility, and then I think maybe even sculpting with plaster and paint, and really kind of bringing these sort of, because the paintings are sort of sculptural, kind of bring them into the real world.
How long does it take you to do a painting?
It depends. I think it used to be when I worked in my old method, I kind of knew, because it was, it was very labor intensive, so I'd say, oh, I have another week on something. Now, a small painting could be done in maybe one sitting or two, sometimes not.
Wow.
And then other times I'm there with them for weeks. Most paintings they're in the works for maybe a month, and I want the marks to be really direct, so I really have to wait for them to dry to do the next layer. So that's why, maybe if you compress the time, it may be a couple of days to work on a piece, but I'll really live with them and stare at them. And I think was the thing that really became central to my new process, was I want to show the process I want to evidence it in the painting itself. And I want you to see the gesture as it's laid on.
So do you have a vision of what you want before you start, and then you work towards that vision, or is everything a surprise as you go?
I think because I have a specific model or I have a specific piece of reference to start with, that's as much as I know, and then most of the rest are surprises. I think I want to build in surprises. I'm not the kind of person that doesn't want to. I like being on the tightrope.
I suppose otherwise you'd get bored,
Yeah.
wouldn't you? If it was like a known quantity.
Oh, I mean, there are times when there's sort of a magic thing that happens and you lose time and you sort of lift the brush and you think, wow, how did that just happened? And then there are other times when you have to keep futzing around until...
It's like that unknown map.
It is.
Isn't it?
But I like that it could be just around the corner, but I don't want to know.
Really?
It's taken many years, and I don't have anxiety about its reaction anymore. Because that used to be, it's a really vulnerable thing to be an artist and to make work and present it and hope somebody likes it and what does it mean if they walk past it and all that stuff. I think I know more about how I feel about it, and I enjoy the fact that people have different feelings. They bring themselves to reacting to artwork, and I'm a fan of painting more than anything. I think in order to be a generous artist, you have to let the stuff do its thing. Like you make the work, and then you sort of put it out in the world, and then get back to making more.
And then it's born.
Yeah.
And then you see what happens, the reactions.
Exactly.
So here's a question for you. Are you ready? If you were on a boat in the Bahamas and a crew member was fishing, suddenly the boat is full of fish covered with sleeves of clean, dry canvas. The ship has every kind of art supply available on deck. So how would you decorate these fish and show them off on the ship?
Oh, wow. That's so poetic. Did you write that? It's very poetic. How would I decorate the ship? Well, there'd be a lot of color, probably, for sure. I mean, I'm so fixated on faces that I think probably now I would try to use the whole surface of the fish. And one of the interesting things that I'm trying to reckon with is the way in New Guinea everything is decorated and everything has a purpose.
Lots of texture, right?
There's a lot of texture, and there's a lot of images that mean several things at the same time. I mean, Picasso collected oceanic art and African art, and they both contain this thing where the spirit is contained in the piece, and very often there's this. It's really about a relationship with nature, and it always seems like it's about duality, about different planes, about nature and man, about the spirit world and the afterlife and the present time, and I think they show that simultaneously in sort of anamorphic ways, and I think that's what Picasso responded to by showing more than one side of a figure. I think that a fish is a funny thing because it's a flat thing, and I think and it looks different from different angles. I'd probably try to really exploit that, but I'd probably make them into faces. I think probably colorful ones. I don't know. That's a great question.
That's good. That was a nice answer. So, Aaron, thank you so much for the interview.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
It's been a pleasure talking to you.
It's been great. Thank you so much.